Hi, I'm your host Vasco Duarte. Welcome to the Scrum Master Toolbox podcast, where we share tips and tricks from Scrum Masters around the world. Every day, we bring you inspiring answers to important questions that all Scrum Masters face day after day. Hello everybody, welcome to our Thursday, the Success Thursday, here this week with Elly Griffith-Ward. Hey Elly, welcome back.
Hi, thanks for having me again.
Absolutely. And really excited to hear what you have for us now that we're going to talk about retrospective, since yesterday was about a great workshop, which I'm already eager to experiment with. But let's talk about retros, then we'll talk about success. So share with us, what's your favorite retrospective format and why?
I love retrospectives. They are the thing that makes me so happy to be in this job. I like changing up retrospective formats all the time, but what I like most is that once you've got all that information out in whatever way you want to do it, and there's thousands and thousands of ways, I increasingly come back to a Kata structure to hone that down into measurable actions. So this is based on the Toyota Kata technique. They use it to manage their staff in loads of different areas of the business. It's fascinating. You can even see videos online of them using it to manage their sales staff and stuff like that, which I think is really inspired because it allows the worker to determine the direction and puts the manager in a coaching role immediately, right? But imagine that you're doing this at the end of a retrospective. Once you know what the problem is, you use the structure to clarify the current condition that's already come out of the retro, to clarify the target condition, maybe that hasn't actually come out of the retro yet. So where do you actually want to go with this? What's the dream state, the end goal? You can make it quite optimistic. And then the crucial thing is to determine the metrics that are going to get you there. How can you measure the success? It really helps when you're aiming for a really big action to have some measurable ways that you can tell you've got there, and then you can stop, right, when you've achieved all of that. It keeps you focused as well, right? And then you decide your next steps. So the next step only needs to be a teeny tiny thing that will aim to shift one of those dials. So it just sort of takes you a few more steps down the line. If you're aiming to do something, a particularly meaty change, it takes the pressure off. You only need to do a tiny thing, to shift one dial, then you remeasure all the dials and see you come up with a new idea based on what you've previously done. It's like right at the very heart of Agile. And the last thing that I find interesting is that the traditional Kata structure doesn't work on the schedule that we are accustomed to working on. Often it's a 2-week sprint, so you retrospect every 2 weeks, right? This asks you to come back when you've done the thing. So if you've done the thing within a day, you should meet again and remeasure and come up with a new idea. It creates a pace of change which is a lot more free form. It's more connected to when the work is actually done. Like, I really get upset when people wait to improve. Like, why are you waiting? Benefit from those ideas right now.
It's not in the schedule, Elly. It's not in the schedule.
I know. No, I know, and it shouldn't matter. We should be improving at every opportunity. We should,
and that's actually
daily.
One of the key aspects. Robbie Ross, also from the UK, was on the podcast a few weeks back, and he used the phrase that I will proudly steal. I do give him credit, but I will definitely use it from now on. He used the phrase relentless improvement.
Yeah,
and I think it describes so well the philosophical aspect of the kata. Right? Because the philosophical aspect of the kata is that you go through the coaching cycle. The actions are just a natural outcome. You're not focusing on the actions. They just happen because you're going through the coaching cycle, right?
Yeah.
The coach does the coaching cycle and the student does the student cycle. But they do that cycle together, and they do it constantly, right? And I think that you talked about the free-form pace, or a pace that is not constrained by the cycle of the retrospective. But I would go further, and I would say that it becomes the natural pace of change. And it's so much faster than anything we can schedule.
Yes, and it's a mindset shift as well, isn't it? Once you move into that mindset of continuous improvement, you never want to go back. And it seeps into all the other aspects of your life as well. Why are you putting up with the fact that you have to walk 6 paces to get to your cutlery drawer? Move your cutlery drawer next to the sink. It's much easier if you're gonna, start thinking like that. It spreads into every aspect of your life. I mean, my husband's like, stop changing. Let's just do this the same for a bit, I'm like,
That's amazing for an historian, Elly, that you want to change all the time.
I've come a long way, I can tell you.
Great story. All right, so now we turn our attention into the big question, right? The question that everyone listening to us today wants to hear the answer for, and that is, what does success for a Scrum Master or an Agile coach mean for you, Elly?
So this is so hard. For me, I like to use the Toyota North Star structure, which I heard about from an incredible Kevin Rutherford a few years ago, and it just blew apart my way of thinking, because I used to think much more practices based, or even values and principles, that kind of stuff.
So describe that thinking for us.
The old thinking.
No, the North Star.
North Star. So the North Star is just 5 points, right? It is, and they are deliberately unachievable. So in no particular order: a single piece flow, 100% value add, highest value first in sequence on demand. That's all one. Safety for workers, and 0 defects, right? So this applies to a car manufacturing company really well. But it also, if you think about it in a more abstracted sense, can apply very well into software delivery, anything else really.
And in fact, I think that perhaps a little bit of context. Those 5 aspects you described are clearly related to manufacturing.
Yes.
But if you've never learned or studied manufacturing, they are not related to manufacturing.
No.
Right? Like single piece flow. I mean, you don't need to call it piece. You can call it story, single story flow.
Yeah.
Right?
Exactly.
100% value add. You can say 100% value add and no waste. Right.
Yes.
Just to clarify it, and so on and so forth. Right. And then for the safety, I think that, thank God, Agile, modern Agile has already taken that to the next level. And they've talked about what it means to build in safety into a product development team's day-to-day life, right? And there's a lot of blog posts and videos about that as well.
Yeah, psychological safety is on everyone's, desk at the moment. Everyone wants to be in a space which is psychologically safe. Understanding what that means, understanding each other, and prioritizing that. I think that's absolutely crucial. 0 defects. That could relate to bugs. It could also relate to 0 time to restore within the DORA world. So, and then highest value first in sequence on demand. That's talking about create a pull system. So don't do anything until it's being asked for. Kind of obvious, but also prioritize, which is what we do in the backlog. But the beauty of this structure for me as a measure of success is that there's always somewhere to go, right? So if you start off with a team, you fix the obvious things. So maybe they've got a high WIP, or maybe they don't like talking to each other, they've got a high mental load and they're really unhappy, or there's loads of things. You fix the obvious stuff, right? There's always somewhere you can go once they've got there. So if you can teach them this, it can set them on the path towards becoming a high performing team. And that in the Tuckman's model, when you get to the top, it should be a wiggly line really, because you're on and then you sort of fall off a bit, and then you're back on your game again and you fall off. And so this gives you a structure. If you're doing daily retrospectives, you can get through all the low hanging fruit in the first, I don't know, it depends how bad the situation is, but in the first few weeks or months, you clear the low hanging fruit. What do you do then? I've seen some teams stall at that point with their daily retrospective practice because they can't think of anything to change. If you have this up on the board, they can go, which one of these am I feeling most connected to right now? Okay, maybe it's psychological safety. Let's work on that. Let's find things to work on that we can take ourselves to the next level, and the next and the next, because you can never actually achieve it. You can't achieve single piece flow across the whole business. That would be insane. But wouldn't it be cool if you started thinking about it in terms of like at a department level? What does it look like if you only have one?
Or even at the team level.
Even at the team level, if you can get but if you're already an XP and you're already mobbing, for example, you're already there. But at a department level, what would it be like if we all focus on just this one outcome and we all honed in on that?
And you just talked about it. Like, yeah, when we talk about flow, we typically talk about work, and that's the meaning in manufacturing. But when we talk about software, it's actually not work, because work is just a very tiny portion of what is the outcome, which is the word you just used, we are looking for, right? Like, and single piece flow for outcomes, it's a completely different game than single piece flow for work.
Yes, absolutely. And then if you start thinking of it like that, then that really shifts things up a notch. Or a whole gear.
Absolutely. Elly, that was a great story, great summary of the 5 points. And I think the analogy to how it helps us really keep our eye on how to get the team and the organization better all the time is just perfect. So thank you for sharing that.
Thank you. Yeah, I want to develop it. I want to work out, really, what does this look like in software? I don't think this is perfect by any means. I'd love to know what other people think as well.
Absolutely. So link up with Elly. The LinkedIn link at least is in the show notes. So why not develop it together? Thank you for that, Elly.
Cheers.
Part of a successful Scrum Master job is to help the product owner. Tomorrow we explore that critical role in Scrum, the product owner role. Tune in to learn about product owner anti-patterns, what you can do to help the product owner, and a real-life example of what a great product owner is and what made it so. Tomorrow on our Friday Product Owner episode. See you tomorrow. We really hope you liked our show. And if you did, why not rate this podcast on Stitcher or iTunes? Share this podcast and let other Scrum Masters know about this valuable resource for their work. Remember that sharing is caring.